What is up, viewers? Patrick from Bible vs. Zombie back with another YouTube video, and this is episode 5 of Restoration Week of Bible verse of the day. And today's verse comes out of Jeremiah 29, verse 11, and it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And that's what that verse means, and let's just get right into the Royal Rangers recap. And, well, here it comes. Micah 3. We were in Micah 3 yesterday, and that was where we were at last night. And so just want to say before we continue, buckle up and strap yourselves in. This is going to be a very interesting Royal Rangers. So, Micah 3, starting at verse 1. Here's what it says. And basically, before I also continue, chapter 3 was the leaders and prophets, they're being rebuked. Alright, here we go. Starting at verse 1, chapter 3 of Micah. "Then I said, Listen, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, should you not embrace justice? You who hate good and love evil, who tear the skin from my people and the flesh from their bones, who eat my people's flesh, strip off their skin, and break their bones in pieces, who chop them up like meat for the pan, like flesh for the pot. Then they will cry out to the Lord, but he will not answer them. At that time he will hide his face from them because of the evil they have done. This is what the Lord says. As for the prophets who lead my people astray, they proclaim peace. If they have something to eat, but prepare to wage war against anyone who refuses to feed them. Therefore night will come over you without visions, and darkness without divination. The sun will set for the prophets, and the day will go dark for them. The seers will be ashamed, and the diviners disgraced. They will all cover their faces, because there is no answer from God. But as for me, I am filled with power, with the Spirit of the Lord, and with justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, to Israel his sin. Hear this, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, who despise justice, and distort all that is right, who build Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with wickedness. Her leaders judge for a bribe, her priests teach for a price, and her prophets tell fortunes for money. Yet they look for the Lord's support and say, Is not the Lord among us? No disaster will come upon us. Therefore, because of you, Zion will be plowed like a field. Jerusalem will become a heap of rubble, the temple hill a mound overgrown with thickets." So this is a little awkward, and this is a really awkward chapter of Micah. Not the reason for why it's awkward is because of, what Micah's saying. Like for example, verse 2 all the way to verse 12. It's so awkward. It's like what's Micah saying? I mean, I don't even understand what he's saying, and it doesn't make any sense. But verses 1 through 4 of Micah 3. He's talking to officials. So, for example, officials are like judges, guards, military leaders. Verse 8, he says, "But as for me, I'm filled with the power, the Spirit of the Lord, justice, and might." Another one, verse 9, as the test. Verse 10, what's interesting is that the word Zion actually means Jerusalem. And from verse 11 and verse 12, it's the summary changes. So, for example, let me read both 11 and 12 again. Verse 11 says, "Her leaders judge for a bribe, her priests teach for a price, and her prophets tell fortunes for money. Yet they look for the Lord's support and say, Is not the Lord among us? No disaster will come upon us." And verse 12, which says, "Therefore because of you, Zion," which is Jerusalem, "will be plowed like a field. Jerusalem will become a heap of rubble, the temple hill a mound overgrown with thickets." And that's all for the verse portion. That's all for the notes. And that's all for the Royal Rangers recap. But as always, before I end, I always like to end this video with a verse. And here's the verse for today. Give me a sec. In Psalm 19, verse 7, it says, "The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple." And that's going to do for the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time we meet again, viewers, in every way, God's way is always the best way.